Shalom Chavrim, I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. I've got my partner here with me in studio. And got anything you want to say?
Shalom.
Shalom. All right, sounds great. Hey guys, we're a little bit kind of broken apart here in the studio this evening. We're getting ready for the conferences tomorrow here in Orlando, Florida. If you are wanting to attend, you live here locally and you want to come, the conference is, of course, in Orlando at the Embassy Suites by Hilton in North, there off of exit 92 Interstate 4. That's actually considered Altamont Springs, Florida. You can go to our website, Israeli News Live. We still have quite a few seats available left because we doubled the size of the meeting hall. We can seat up to 200. I think we have about 100 and close to 160 guests registered. We had a couple of people that won't be able to make it. So I hate to hear that, but it's all right. We understand. People run into issues and can't make it in. Anyway, we do have a few breaking things I wanted to share with you tonight, but let me get back to this one thing. If you live here locally and you're wanting to come, Brenda, Sister Brenda, she will be receiving the guests there, checking names off. If you happen to be a walk-in, the only thing is we're just making sure who actually attends. It's not like we're doing a background check because I don't have names necessarily on everybody. Would have liked to, because the information we're going to be sharing with you tomorrow goes all the way to the White House. We'll be talking about very sensitive information from my time in the government, and it's going to shock a lot of people. Anyway, it will not be shared here publicly until we have spoken in several conferences around the country. We will be filming it, though, to where it can be loaded later. And also, we've already been in touch with several law enforcement groups that have been involved in these things. Won't go into that here and now. But anyway, it's going to be a blessing for those of you that are able to make it. And our next stop will be in Nashville, Tennessee, then on up to Oregon. And I think Brother Mark has already sent me the details on this. I do promise as soon as I can slow down long enough to get that information out to you guys, I will. So if you're going to be in Nashville, don't worry about trying to email me on the Nashville. The Brother Mark there at their congregation there, they on their website will be doing the registry for this. And they're not out to try to get people's emails. It's just a matter for security purposes and as well for the fact that we will be, again, limited in our seating. We have more time, and up in that area there, we expect more people will be coming. So I think we're limited to about 250 people that can be seated in that particular event. It will be a 2-day event in Nashville, Tennessee. It's close to the airport, so if you're planning on going, you can... Well, let me make sure I get all the dates exactly right as well, too. I forget if it's 14th and 15th or 15th and 16th. I don't have those dates exactly right as of yet, but I will get that information as soon as I can. All right, let's get right into our news here. We got several different stories here that I wanted to speak about. Asian Times is actually talking about China going in to back Syria, not just with Idlib, but literally helping the President Bashar al-Assad liberate the rest of his country. This is the first time we've seen Chinese forces in earnest be spoken about coming into the Syrian government there to take out the terrorists that are in that region. And they are calling them terrorists. And that's kind of interesting because, the U.S. was doing war games there not far from the South China Sea, closer to the Japan side there with B-52 bombers. And I just can't help but think of the scriptures I shared with you the other day from Daniel's prophecy, Daniel 11:44, where those tidings out of the north and east caused the king of the north some serious trouble, some anxiety, and he's going to go and take out a lot of people as a result of that. The king of the south, though, pushing with the king of the north, that's the king of the Negev, with the Negev desert, which is none other than the Israeli government that will be involved in this. I keep wondering, peace. Where is our peace in the Middle East? We don't get it. You're not going to get it without Mashiach. And believe me, the Mashiach will not be a part of our Israeli government, especially a Jesuit-ran government. Anyway, boy, I really wished you guys could be I wish everybody could be here in Orlando for this conference here, because you would really find out why some of the things that bother me the way they do. There's just some things I've never shared here publicly. It's just that sensitive, but the people there will know. And I think people will get a much better understanding and recognize this is much deeper than the days of Shimon Peres, things like that. This is much deeper. And of course, when we go to Nashville, Tennessee, it'll even be a better conference in Orlando, because we will continue to expound on the information. We thought we had enough time by building our PowerPoints, having a couple of days, 2 or 3 days. Actually, we'd started earlier this week. You can't even get all the information in. There's just no way. It's just that deep of information. Anyway, getting back to the news here of what's going on, let's continue on over. This here is from RT. I want to play just a few seconds of this clip here. The guest on RT is a Jewish reporter. He is actually 100% Jewish man there on RT, and he's talking about the Syrian government taking back over its borders there in the Golan. Now he does talk about, he calls it the occupied Golan. I kind of don't agree with that, for the simple reason is when President Bashar al-Assad's father had come against Israel in the war, he lost that territory in the battle, although he does mention, and I don't know if I'll play it that far, in 2011 there were serious negotiations about the Golan between Syria and Israel. Netanyahu, as he points out, did not want the Golan going back to the Syrian government, but in the information that I had on President Bashar al-Assad is that he was willing to give up most of the Golan in his bid for that in exchange for peace. I think he was possibly looking for a little small part of that territory, but nonetheless, in my opinion, the Golan belongs to the house of Israel, and there are remnants of Syrians that are part of the house of Israel, especially the Christian community. So if there's any kind of negotiation, I think the Christian community of Syria should be allowed to live, especially on the border of the Golan. They should consider maybe having all of the Christians of Syria to be allowed to live, not necessarily on the Israeli side, but that whole area, Quneitra and all, should be given over to the believers of Yeshua inside of Syria, as well as the Yazdi community, where they brought the wise men. They are the descendants of the wise men. And in fact, this is the 4th anniversary today of the suffering of the Yazdi women 4 years ago that were kidnapped by ISIS militants. Very, very sad story. Let's play this clip here for you guys. I hope we have the volume loud enough. We do not. Give me 1 second. Bear with me, guys. Here we go. Now we can get it.
In studio by journalist and author Max Blumenthal. Nice to see you, Max. All of this news came as Russia attempted to reassure Israel that Iranian forces are in fact pulling back from positions in the Golan. However, in an interview this week with Israeli media, Moscow's ambassador to Tel Aviv said of those groups, quote, "They are playing a very, very important role in our common and joint effort to eliminate terrorists in Syria. That is why, for this period of time, we see as non-realistic any demands to expel any foreign troops from the entirety of the Syrian Arab Republic." What is Israel's role in this fight then?
Well, first of all, we have to acknowledge that Iran and the Shia militias have pulled back 85 kilometers from the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights border. So they've pulled back their heavy weapons, and that was part of the agreement that seemed to have emerged from the Helsinki summit of Putin and Trump. Israel, however, is constantly trying to move the goalposts, and it's saying it's not satisfied with this. It wants a total removal of all Iranian and Iranian-backed forces from Syria, and so it's not satisfied with Russia and the UN forces moving back to provide these peacekeeping roles. And at the same time, what you hear from the Russian ambassador to Israel is that Iran is playing an indispensable role in the fight against ISIS, which is still present in Syria. And in fact, Israel just announced that it had to kill 6 ISIS militants who were attempting to approach Israeli-occupied territory. So Israel is in a real bind here. But what we're looking at is a stalemate. Israel gets a drawback of Iranian forces, Russia gets to play the adult in the room, and Iran gets to stay. We'll see where it goes.
Now, the one thing I would note here when it comes to the pullback of Iranian forces to 85 kilometers, I have to agree as well, even with Blumenthal on this here, and even with the Russians that are saying they need Iranian forces there inside of Syria to help battle the terrorists that have been trying to overthrow President Bashar al-Assad. And this is one reason why I think the magic number came as 85 kilometers, because Idlib would be just outside of that, and there was a real need for the Iranian forces to be there. But I think that China may be joining into the fight as a result of the fears that Russia and the Syrian government are concerned about of Israel attacking the Iranian forces once they begin to try to take out Al-Qaeda, al-Nusra, and other terrorist factions that are up near the Idlib area, and especially since they're being armed by the Turkish government and even the U.S., the Saudis, etc. They have all been in there in support and helping these terrorist organizations to start with overthrow President Bashar al-Assad. But if it's true, when we look at this from a prophetic standpoint, that this whole issue of China and Russia causing anxiety for the King of the North, I'm sure the Pope of Rome won't be long before he's going to give the order to, hey, take everybody and everything out, take Iran out, take out anybody that comes into Syria, finish off Bashar al-Assad. I could certainly see how that could play out in the very near future and would not be necessarily the best thing in the world. As we see. Also, NATO drills in Georgia, that's over there in the country of Georgia on Russia's southern border, not far from Sochi, have really ramped up there. They have been moving their forces in there, and I actually thought I had a video of that, of those forces there. I guess I do not. Maybe, let me just see. I don't. I did have a video up earlier, and I must have accidentally deleted that video there. But anyway, some pretty heavy-duty drills that the U.S. is conducting with the Georgian military there, using helicopters, gunner ships, ground forces, etc. And it is to send a message to Russia. And as I said, stated before, well, we have you surrounded. It's kind of interesting. 24 hours after we announced that particular news, we were getting other clips coming out, even from Foreign Minister Lavrov, that Russia is very much aware of NATO's intentions of possibly wanting to attack Russia and divide it up into 4 regions. I've heard that even before Foreign Minister Lavrov had said this, that was one of the intentions of NATO in the future. And we'll have to wait to see how all that plays out. Anyway, I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. Well, hopefully tomorrow night, because we will be at the conference there, we might, for tomorrow night's broadcast, I may run a clip from the facility there live to you there just before we get started. And we may run Sunday a clip of Yana's part of the conference there when she speaks about 5G technology. I'll probably run that on Sunday because I will be en route to D.C. and I know it will be a blessing to you. So here we say tonight, shalom to all of you. Any final words? This is the boss of Israeli News Live. I guess I have been in big trouble, so she's there to make sure I behave. Shalom and Erev Tov.